Sahana Vavatu, Sahanao Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The word Shraddha has evolution or faith. So this word at the beginning can be a belief. And so we say, who needs Shraddha? Who needs a belief? We need logic. But the word Shraddha itself evolves. Because the word Shraddha, for example, you're in this class, so it must mean you have some form of trust that this class can do something for you in a positive manner. So just to show up in class presupposes Shraddha. So if I say to you, you don't have Shraddha, it doesn't make logical sense, because Shraddha really just means that which I stand for. Whatever you stand for, whatever you fall back on, is really where your faith lies. Whatever you believe is, or whatever you have recognized to be fruitful for you in some ways or the other, in that you have Shraddha. Thereby, every person in this world has some form of faith in one thing or the other. When you're on the road and you're driving, any moment, a person traveling opposite can swirl, get a heart attack and swirl towards your car. And yet, despite that fact, you still drive every single day without being concerned. So this means that Shraddha, you initially have Shraddha in order to move through the world. Without it, we could not do anything. So this logic shows us that every person by nature has this trust factor built in. Thereby, this word is sacred, and it's not something that I can say to you, you don't have Shraddha. Okay? In fact, saying that is not really helpful at all. Instead of saying you don't have Shraddha, I could rather say, what is the resistance in the teaching? And I can get to the bottom of the matter. Because you have shown up, that presupposes you've got Shraddha. So if anyone's thinking I don't have Shraddha, and because I don't have it, the teaching is not working for me, that's the wrong understanding. The right understanding is, I have shown up, I'm interested, I want to know, I want to be helped by the message, thereby, what now is it that I want to remove? What kind of ideas do I need to kind of, remove from my life? So thereby, knowing this, that you're in the class, then the question poses, what helps us to, in the light of Shraddha, which is that which keeps you in the class, makes you keep going on, keep coming, keep being devoted, keep being dedicated to the teaching, what takes you to an upwards trajectory? And this is answered in verse 41. Yoga sanyasta karmanam, jnana sanchina samshayam, atmavantam na karmani, nibadhanti dhananjaya.
Dhananjaya, Arjuna. Actions do not bind the one who has renounced action through yoga, whose doubts have been completely severed by knowledge, and the one who is together.
So actions do not bind. Okay. Now the question is, in that verse, whom do actions not bind? And there are two answers to this, according to what we have seen so far. Now, when I say this to some context, okay, so what? Actions don't bind. How does this apply to you? It means that when we say an action binds you, what does that mean? Yeah, because I have to apply an action. I have to cook, for example. I have to, pay the bills. How is that binding, right? And what is the problem with binding actions in the first place? Well, number one, not all actions are binding, because you just have to do what you have to do, right? It's a one-off, paying the bills or filling up the car with the petrol and so on. That's not binding. When we say binding, it means that action becomes something that you cannot live without. Yeah, before you were okay with it, you were peaceful, but now at the absence of that action, you feel like you're incomplete. So it becomes another factor in your life which you believe sincerely that you need to be complete. Yeah. Now that's just one time. And we don't have just one-off inadequacies. We have many inadequacies. So how do these many inadequacies get formed? Well, it's very simple. I need, a certain time. I need a certain kind of quietude. Without quietude, then I can't be happy. I need a certain kind of dress code when I'm out. If I don't dress like that, I don't feel like I'm complete. I will feel like shy and, ugly and so on. I need a certain kind of, 1 hour of entertainment, no matter what, and I'm not willing to sacrifice for it. That becomes another binding thing. I need to play computer games, which I'm sure nobody does here, but a lot of kids nowadays do, for 8 hours a day. Otherwise, I'm going to, lose my mind. Now, some actions which are binding, there is a time and place for them. And we're not saying now go and just take away those 8 hours, gains from the kids. They're not going to be happy with it. But sometimes also you develop hand-eye coordination with those games. So there's always a benefit behind the scenes. But the point is, who is free from binding actions? So why is this question important? Because if you have a bunch of items in your life, which everyone does, which you feel like they are required for you to be at peace, at ease with life, with yourself, then that's okay. But at what cost? Yeah, that's the real question. So now, who is that one for whom, if something is not in my life, which I would prefer to have, it doesn't throw me off my center? Who is that one where, if things don't go my way, though I have invested my sincerity and my time and effort into something that was meaningful, and it doesn't go my way, who is that one who moves on, says, this has happened, I acknowledge, this doesn't feel good at all, I'm okay with that, but what's next? Who is that one to whom things which are unpleasant of nature come their way, and they, instead of turning into a complainer, they look at that as a chance to look at their responses, to refine their responses, to do something different this time, so that you can intercept that pattern, which otherwise you would have acted out normally. Yeah. So every challenge, every good thing that comes your way is your chance to refresh how you do things, how you see things, how you perceive things, what conclusions you make about what happens. If something wonderful comes my way, thank you, I enjoy it, but you know what? I've got things to do. So therefore, I don't get too caught up. If something unpleasant happens, you know what? It definitely, I would have preferred otherwise, but you know what? I've got better things to do. I've got other things to do. This is not the only thing in my life. So I just move on like this, okay? From complainer into problem solver. From why is this not working for me into what now? From, oh God, why am I being punished into this has happened? What's next? In fact, one of the nicest questions that a person can have is just a very short phrase like this. This has happened. Now what? Okay. After I go and, go through this argument, now what? After, there's a temptation to go, do whatever you want to do. Ask one question. Okay. Now what? Okay. Now I've done it. Now what? Imagine. Now what? It works really well because it kind of makes your mind think about for a while that, yeah, there will be whatever you will be there, fun or, this flare in the air, whatever it is. But after I go through it, now what? And like, okay, no, and then what? No, you have to come. You have to come over to the journey. Come over to this festival. It's going to be wonderful. Okay, imagine. Okay, then what? What do you mean then what? You have to come over. It's going to be very fun. Okay, I had the fun. Okay, then what? No, come over. Go and approach her. You need that relationship. Okay, then I have that relationship. Now what? Then what? It's like you can never come out of this question, right? Then what? It saves you so much time. I'm not saying this in a way to kind of avoid things, but it just kind of makes you think, okay, then what? Great, I've got it now. Then what? No, you need a house. You need a big house to feel secure. Okay, great. I've got a big house. Then what? Did anyone watch Shark Tank? Shark Tank, the the investors who sit on a table on chair and they listen to they're pitched, and one of them, in fact, few of them, not one, but few of them, they're all multi-millionaires, right? How many houses do you have? 7. So you're telling me 6 houses at a time are empty and only one of them is occupied. Now, this is very telling of human nature, isn't it? Because what the Veda says is what a human being wants, because we all get born with a sense of inadequacies. I'm not good enough, I'm small. And when you look around, you say, I need, right? I need what others are needing. They need houses, I need a house. They need love, I need love. They need food or flamboyant things, I need flamboyant things. So you learn very early on that your security, the way to band-aid your sense of smallness is by artha in the world. Now, it's very telling when you have so much money, 1 house is not good enough. 2 houses is not good enough. I need more security, more security, more security, more security. It never ends. So even something small like that can be very telling of human nature, which is exactly what the rishis are saying. There is no ending to how much artha a person wants in their life. Because until you recognize that you don't need these flamboyant, these huge things in your life, that you are okay as you are, the journey will never stop for you. And so every life like this, I will get another house, which is exactly what we're doing, don't we? Every life we get a house.
It's to the previous example that you were taking, right? It's a video game, etc. But meditation can also fall in that category.
Very good point.
Meditation and prayer, because then you start feeling guilty when as long as you have not discovered your non-doer, but at the start of the journey, you do feel guilty when you're not doing it, right?
Excellent observation. The reason is because we see there's always this need that I'm, need to fulfill a purpose, a larger purpose. And if the larger purpose is not being fulfilled, I feel useless. And nobody likes to feel useless. So now the trap can be where you're given some practice, upasana, and it does something for you. No upasana can go without doing something for you positive, right? It can make your mind concentrated, make you a little bit more sattvic, more pure, whatever it is. And then you do that for a while and you realize, this is really working well and I'm enjoying the benefits. But now without it, you sort of feel like, I am incomplete. So now the one thing that is meant to help you pacify your mind so that you can discover your complete nature, that very thing becomes a source of making you incomplete when you stop doing it. So now the purpose of meditation has gone from making the mind open enough, concentrated enough to listen to the teaching long enough to think about it with enough duration so that a teaching can form in your mind. So a vritti corresponding to the nature of reality can form. That takes time. You cannot come to any real conclusion unless you're given your vritti a duration. Think of your vritti like a Play-Doh, like those, the clay, right, that you can sculpt when it's wet. Now, suppose I tell you, here's a statue and here's wet clay. Now, I want you to replicate that statue. How much time do you need for that? And I give you 10 minutes. I give you only 10 minutes. You will have 10 minutes worth of statue resemblance. It's going to be terrible. But then I say, let me give you 2 hours and the result will be way different. So in that same manner, when the mind is not allowed to stay put in one place, to look at a teaching and just stick with it long enough, then though you're forming a vritti, you cannot go without forming a vritti in your mind. Though you're forming one, you're not forming it to resemble what is being communicated. What is intended to be communicated is a certain reality, that whatever I look, it's Ishvara. There's nothing other than intelligence here. But if I am not given enough time for that, then my partial vision ensues. I only see partiality. I see Ishvara in the temple. I see Ishvara in a Ganesha, but I don't see it in my neighbor. I don't see it in the door handle that I open just to open the door. That is also Ishvara. Does anyone think about Ishvara in your door handle? Or the toilet seat? Yeah, I'm using these examples deliberately because it's the last thing that you actually see that Ishvara is there. So we have this selective vision where it's okay, I understand, but I only want it to be in certain things. That is not what this vision is about. The vision has no exclusivity. The vision includes all things. And it is up to your mind to train it, to look in those areas where you would not want to look otherwise. There's no space for pushing things aside. And so the meditation, the practice, makes your mind calm enough and considerate enough to include other facets in your life. Because when you close your eyes, you enter a mode that you otherwise wouldn't access in your normal day-to-day waking. So you're able to bring a lot more nuanced thinking. And anyone who's meditated, you will know directly from experience how precious, valuable meditation can be. So there's actually no point describing it because it's like describing what an orange tastes like. Yeah. So what I'm really saying is in chapter 6 of the Gita, we will talk about meditation and we will do meditation practices to bring this more into a practice. The question I asked so far was, what is a binding action? And why should I know what a binding action is? And how does a binding action influence me? Now you know. A binding action makes you put and doesn't allow you to do other things because you feel like I need this and this alone and nothing else out there is better than this. That's not true. Now, the question is, who is free, relatively free, of these binding actions? And before I do, Ellie?
My question is, how do you separate binding actions from addiction?
Now, addiction, can be a little bit more intense, I would assume, and that requires a different modality that Vedanta isn't necessarily dealing with. So I want to be very clear here. One has to know that Vedanta, a lot of people come to Vedanta to solve their life issues. If you really want to be clear what Vedanta is it about solving your life issues or about ascertaining the nature of the final reality and deepening yourself in this very truth that you are? You see? So if you really want to deal with addictions, deal with the mind, I tell you, there are brilliant modalities, especially in the West. They specialize in those things. Psychology, CBT, DBT, they are like top of the game and it works like crazy well. So now, having gone through that, you have purified your mind, Antakarana Shuddhi. Now you're ready for Vedanta. And I would also argue one more thing that I've observed. When you combine the Vedas, the Vedic knowledge, with Western psychology, with Western mindset, you have an absolutely brilliant formula for knowledge. If I just look at the West, then though they're brilliant in Antakarana Shuddhi, they fail to address the larger picture. So you end up just really optimizing how to swim in samsara, all about optimizing it. Let me swim, give me better samsaric breaststroke. The Indian philosophy, which is not really considered Indian, it's universal. They deal with the knowledge that reconciles all differences. However, to do that, you need a brilliant system, a mind that's able to capture that. And that's what the West specializes in. Going back to the question, the answer is, according to Krishna, yoga sannyasta karma, he's the one who has renounced actions through yoga. Okay, renounced actions through yoga. Renounced what kind of actions? Cooking actions? No, you have not renounced cooking actions. You renounced binding actions through yoga. Now, there are two kinds of standpoints you can look at this statement. The first is a jijnasu. A jijnasu is one who is not yet there, but is on the way of getting there. So you can call a jijnasu the one who wants to know. So therefore, a karma yogi. A karma yogi is a jnanasu. Now, what is then karma yoga? Karma yoga has two aspects. The first aspect is yogaha karmasu kaushalam. And this means, as we've mostly heard, skill in action. Before I describe what skill in action means, look at it like this. Everyone follows according to what you like and dislike. This is natural for all beings. I want to do this, therefore I do it. I don't want to do this, therefore I don't do it. Now, there's nothing wrong with going along with your likes and dislikes if they are aligned to the universal ethical values. Then your likes and dislikes end up helping you because they are keeping with helping you immediately, helping you in the future, and also helping those or contributing value to those people to whom you extend your hand towards. So in this manner, karmasu kaushalam, the skill in action, means, look at this, is it easy to practice the skill when you're given the entire world before you and you're giving all these chances to go the easy way, but instead you say, I'm not going to go the easy way, I'm going to do what is right for me right now, I'm going to do what is right for me and healthy for me in the future, and I'm going to do what is healthy for the bigger whole. Is that easy to practice? What's much easier? Fall into your own temptations. I'm going to just please myself. That's very easy. Therefore, what is skill in action? Because Krishna is saying to Arjuna, hey, have skill in action. Arjuna already has skills. He's already got many skills. But what skill is he lacking? He's lacking the skill of considering the larger picture. That is a skill in action. So as I move through life, skill in life, instead of skill in action, replace skill in life. So what is a skill in life? To look at my position in reference to the world and say, what is the right thing here to be done? And then act according to that, instead of what is just right for me at the expense of ignoring your considerations, your needs, and your well-being. Therefore, skill of being responsible, skill of looking at a bigger picture and saying, yes, the other side is my family. They're close to me, and I'm on here. And though that's true, if I allow my spouse or brother or sister or mom or dad to keep heading towards the path of self-destruction, that's not going to be healthy for me. It's not going to be healthy for them. So therefore, what will I do? I will choose to act and do what has to be done so that they don't destroy themselves. Now, they may hate you afterwards. And for that reason, you need the second. And that's called samatvam yoga uchyate. That's the second aspect of karma yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate, evenness of mind. So even when you do the right things, you have thought what is to be done, you have considered the consequences, you are absolutely sure that what you're doing is the right thing to be done, even then, you will not get as you wanted. Because the world isn't designed to please you. It's designed to accommodate everyone. So what is samatvam? It is where you have a certain equanimity, but it is not artificial. It is not an affirmation. Everything's okay. Everyone loves me. It's all going to turn out well. This is not affirmation-based equanimity. It is an understanding. It is an equanimity, a composure of your mind that comes from something that you know. And what is it that you know? You know that the laws are impartial, that the laws are there to accommodate the needs of all beings, not just you. And when something that doesn't turn out in your favor, it is not a personal attack, ever. It is simply a product of many causes that were contributing to the final outcome. And those causes were beyond your reach because you were not there to tell people how to think, to tell the manager what decisions to make. to tell his wife to give him a massage before he's supposed to approve you for the next job, you know, so that you can get the increase in your wages, right? So you call up his wife, hey, give him a good massage. Okay. She's like, okay, cool, I'll do that. You don't have time to do that. So all these small variables impact the final decision that you get. So thereby, what this means is that, what do I know? Back to the question, what gives me equanimity? What do I have to know so that I am in this mode of equanimity? That Ishvara is the karma phala data, not I. Okay, he is the giver. He is the author of results of actions. And chapter 2.47, Krishna says this, karmani eva adhikaraha. That means you only have the right in karmas. Karmani eva adhikaraha te me paleshu kadachana. Not in the results. You have the right in karmas. You don't have the right in the phala. 2.47. What does this mean? It means I have every right to put the best of my abilities to the world, to myself, to have something, you know, to achieve something, to get something, to start a business, to, you know, fix something. But in terms of how long that will take, you don't control. If you did, everyone would have pressed the button to remove all your dark spots in the mind, all your anger. Everyone would have done it by now, but you know it's not that simple. Therefore, what can I and you do? The only thing is put an action, feed our minds with the right material, work on the knowledge, think about what's being said here, and let that brew in the background. And that takes some time. Okay. Thereby, it requires a certain amount of grace. And this grace is we call prasada. It is Ishvara prasada. It is a web. When I say here prasada, I'm going to say it is a web. It's coming from the web of Ishvara, multiple causes that you do not control. And this I have to accept. Is there any other choice? If there was, why haven't you done it by now? It's like people who write books called Limitless or how to make money. And you go and interview them and you say, how did you make money? And they say, I made money by selling how to make money. So you haven't really made money. You just wrote a book, how to make money, and people bought that, and that's how you made money. Someone wrote the book Limitless. Okay, so, okay, if you're limitless, go and memorize my language and go and speak in Hindi, go and speak in Serbian, Croatian. Go ahead. No, I can't. Well, you're limitless. Can you please, you know, levitate for me, please? Give me some entertainment. I can't do that. Would that be cool? Levitation. What would you do with that? Oh, I get it. Make money. 5 minutes of levitation. What's the formula for this? Hey, I can show you how to levitate. What's your response? And then what? Goodbye. Save yourself the ticket. All right. So the question was, for whom do actions not bind? For the one who is a karma yogi. I just described what is a karma yogi. Now, having said this, you're saying, so what? How does this now link to someone who, you know, who is a karma yogi? How does this understanding not bind me anymore? What's the relationship to this and dropping my addictions, dropping the need that things have to work out my way?
Is it due to the fact that the karma yogi's ultimate goal is moksha? So therefore they're going to let things go that are not going to help assist them on that path?
Because the karma yogi understands that not everything, he has only control of what he can do and not the actions. Not the results.
In the results. Okay, good. Now, what about the first one? Skill in action. What is my job here? Because we said a karma yogi is the one who knows I have my own personal fancies, yeah? But is this keeping with my goal of moksha, as Michael said? Is this keeping with, you know, helping me to have more clarity? The answer is no. Therefore, the karma yogi is able to, on the basis of what they value, drop those things which do not help them anymore. You understand? So again, the question is, how does karma yoga help you drop things that you feel you need to be at peace? How does karma yoga help you to have a life where whatever happens, you're relatively okay with that? How does karma yoga help you that when there is a temptation to do something, what reasoning do you go through in the light of karma yoga that says, I don't need to go through this?
So for a karma yogi, he appreciates and recognizes Ishvara in all this manifestation, on all the laws. Everything you do is a manifestation of Ishvara. So even if we are moving our hands, eating food, the food itself, everything is recognized as Ishvara. So and all the actions, like dharma itself is considered as Ishvara. So whatever you are doing, the result would be a prasad. So that's the second aspect. So whatever comes as a result of action is appreciated as a prasad attitude, a return from Ishvara, because prasad itself is also Ishvara, because we have mixed Ishvara with Ishvara and we got Ishvara.
I would argue that. I would argue that. And I would say, okay, great. I'm just going to do my addiction and I've got Ishvara Prasada back.
But you have to do a dharmic skill in action. That's the first part where you just can't do anything. Skill in action, the right thing to do, which you were saying. You have to do the right thing with the attitude and appreciation of Ishvara and right actions you are doing as per dharma.
Pause there. I want to talk to you. Okay, now, knowing that I want the right thing, what thought process motivates me to stay with the right thing and resist that initial temptation to go against the thing that I otherwise would have pursued? What gives me that inner strength to go for the right thing over the easy wrong, over the comfortable?
Because I know the difference between shreyas and preyas.
Okay. And knowing the difference between shreyas and preyas, what is the relevance of that for me?
It's all Ishvara, like we heard just now.
So it's all
There
Ishvara.
is no individuality.
Okay. See, and the reason why I'm still not catching on is because I can use all of this now to justify, to keep on performing my so-called addictions, and therefore keep on being bound by actions. So I need someone to speak out and let me know in what way karma yoga will help me, take me through ocean of temptation from not today, but all days until the last breath. In what way does karma yoga contribute to keeping me on track?
It helps you have equanimity of mind so you can have more sattva and keep the vision and focus.
A lot of things can give you equanimity. Okay, even the things that I'm especially addicted to.
But if you're guilty over, because you feel guilty about doing something, I mean, when you're doing, when you're doing something you know is wrong,
Okay.
you might get so much mileage out of it. You may feel good for a while, feel justified, but you know that it's harming the world. It's harming yourself. It's harming your connection with reality. I mean, with your ability to stay focused in your development of the knowledge and all that. Any type of where you're muddying the water, you're not going to have that. You're not going to be able to reflect this. The bigger vision here that we're after.
Okay, I like that. Now he really dug deep and he explained.
I will remind myself that I have to live in the present and not bring past impressions in the now. I mean, I look at the situation, I look at the bigger picture and say, what is right action to be done according to the situation? What do I really want? And is it what I want or is it what I need? And what is best for the world in this? Is it going to my liking, my wish, my desire, or is it what the world really needs? Because finally, I'm not the center of the world, right? The world cycle has to go on. So this will remind myself to practice karma yoga.
This is similar to what Ravikant was saying in a different way. Both viveka is required, and in the light of that discernment, is this serving me and at what cost, as Greg was saying earlier on? And is there, a follow-up guilt in this? Slowly through the discernment, the person sees this is not serving me. It's not taking me to where I really want to go, because it's just going to be more of the same like last time. And so through this, you build more and more this passion towards that which you're, seemingly addicted to. And you see slowly, it's not helping me. Right? It's all nice and dandy in the moment, but it's really not, it's not a big deal, right? It's just going to pass like a gust of wind.
Yeah, I think I look at it like karma yoga. The basis for karma yoga is devotion or bhakti. So you are having that trust and faith in that supreme. So you follow what needs to be done, not using your intellect too much, saying this is what the pramana is, this is what the scriptures say, follow it, that's it. So you are doing it with a lot of devotion, and then only you can actually progress, is what I guess.
Yeah, and it doesn't take, it's not an overnight thing, because initially, see, we all have these big things that I want to spend more time watching entertainment, and you see that you kind of lose interest slowly. So it is a slow process for all of us. And so karma yoga keeps your eye on that. Is this really helping my long-term vision? If not, then you may fail. You may say, oh, it's not, but then you still continue watching. You know this experience? No, this is not healthy, but I still go and do anyway. But the more you do this, every single time, your mind takes a little moment to say, yeah, maybe 5 more minutes. But then next time, 2 more minutes, 1 more minute. And then slowly, you kind of lose interest. So it's a slow process. But at least you are on a long-term vision.
Just the only thing I can add to what you were just saying is that the objective just stays in mind with karma yoga. So there was always an imperative for me to find this vision. And now that I've found the vision, I don't want to let go of that. So the karma yoga, I know, is the skill that is going to lead to me really living this vision.
And what would make it an imperative for you? You would have to see the value. How is this going to help me? In what way would this transform me? Okay. So this is the vision of a karma yogi. I know what I want, and I reprioritize my life according to that. Okay. Now, the second is yoga sannyasta karma, one who has renounced actions or binding actions through yoga. So the first one is a karma yogi. How do they renounce it? By having a vision towards what do I want? Is this aligned with yes? Great. If not, well, I can make some course corrections. The next one is from the standpoint of a Jivan Mukta. How has a Jivan Mukta renounced their actions? It's a different paradigm now. Well, a Jivan Mukta recognizes that what is doing an action? When you say I, look at this. I am now drinking. Everyone look, I'm drinking water. Okay, but what actually happened? Arm picked up glass. Glass went like this. Throat swallowed. Water went down. So basically only the arm and the throat was required. And on the basis of those 2 muscles or whatever muscles were involved, we say, I am drinking the water. So what does a Jivan Mukta know? They know that what actually does an action? Is it my arm? Is it my finger? And if it's my arm, then which specific finger? Which specific muscle? Like, where do you find an actor? Who are you referring to when you say, I am doing an action? Is it the throat? Is it the esophagus? Is it the arms? Is it the legs? Is it the neurons that made a decision? And which neuron is specifically made that decision? Is it just one, or is it all of the neurons put together? So now you can't really find an actor. You can't find a doer. So this word doer is something that we just sort of generally assume, oh, I am drinking. But if you just look at it cognitively, nothing's drinking. It's just a bunch of individual body parts that are just kind of, contracting, expanding, making a decision, neural activity is going on. What's drinking? So now, if your body and mind has done all these so-called sinful actions, can you say, just like suppose cup is a sinful action, suppose drinking is a sinful action. Oh, I've done sin. What has done sin? Can you find a sinner of drinking the water? Is it which finger? What was it? These two? Because right now these two fingers are holding the cup. So is it this finger? Now, what if all my fingers are holding? Which finger is a sinner of drinking the cup? Can you find a doer? No, it's very hard to find a doer now. So what does it mean to recognize I am not a doer? You just have a cognitive reassessment. Where is the so-called doer? You really cannot discover such a being. Therefore, when we say that a Jivan Mukta gives up all karmas, we're not referring to physical actions. Otherwise, there will be no teaching. Even to teach is a physical karma. What that means is that there is knowledge on the basis of your reassessment of who the real doer is. You come to see awareness does not do anything. But in the presence of awareness, there is a body made of fingers, made of muscle, made of blood, made of neurons, and the conglomeration of all of that, you then dismiss and you say doer, right? You call that doer. Yeah. Therefore, if you were as good as the doer, then when the doer stops doing, what would happen to you? You would go out of existence. And when the doer comes back, suddenly you would kind of go back into existence. But the body does, the body rests, the body is not doing, awareness continues. The body enjoys, it's not doing, awareness continues. The body sleeps, it's not doing anything, awareness continues. There's no activity at all. The body meditates, the mind meditates, awareness continues at all. So can you say then, I am meditating? No. The mind simply stopped producing thoughts. In reference to that, you call that meditation. But you cannot say, I am meditating. You can rather say, my instrument given to me for a short amount of time has ceased activity, which then I give a name to that mode. I call that meditation. Okay, is this clear so far? Really? Okay. You're not a doer. Explain.
The Jivan Mukta has a cognitive understanding that the doer cannot be identified and they don't identify with it. So they can acknowledge that there was so let's use the analogy around taking a drink of water. There was a thought arose, and go, I want a drink of water. Then an action was put in place. The body started moving. It poured a glass of water. It drank that water. But in actual fact, that all just kind of happened. The awareness was witness to it. They could see that was happening, but the Jivan Mukta realizes that as awareness, all that happened, they didn't actually do it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Andre, and then I'll go to Arsha.
If I am a doer, when I do nothing, I have to disappear, but it's not the case. So I'm not a doer. Sorry.
I'm the witness to the actions that are being performed. And that's why I'm not I don't consider me as the doer, to answer your question.
Okay. The reason why I feel like another 50% to that answer is missing. And the reason for that is I know the statements, but I want to hear the explanation why. For example, Andre said, if I stopped doing, then I would disappear, but I don't disappear. So this is what I'm more interested in. So could you explain, Asha, what is it that, why are you not the doer when an action is performed?
Because the action has to be performed in the presence of something. So, I mean, the hand alone cannot do anything. The nothing can act on its own without the can call it the power maybe of
Without consciousness, it cannot act without consciousness.
yeah.
So a Jivan Mukta has broken its identification with all the 5 sheets which we talk about, including the ego. Jivan Mukta has recognized and broken its identification with the ego, and he has realized that ego is just an, I would not use the word illusion, but ego is just a dependent reality. That's not who he really is. He's pure consciousness, Satchidatma, and ego is just another vritti.
Pause,
So
pause,
that
pause. How do you prove that the ego is a dependent reality?
how do we prove ego is that? Because the 3 state, deep sleep, there is no ego in the deep sleep, it's gone. So which means you exist independent of ego.
Okay, okay. We can expand upon that answer, of course, a lot more, but I'm happy with that.
I understand something that is harmful for your body as addiction, right? You're an alcoholic, or you're taking drugs, or you're watching too much television, or you're gaming. But what if you're an artist and you're painting the whole day? Like, I know that Michelangelo was, after every painting and after every great work, he said, what's the purpose? What have I got? I mean, he was so confused at the end of all of this. So what does one achieve doing even those things which we think fill our lives with activity, which seem to have purpose? It could be meditating, it could have prayer.
Okay. I'll give you a similar example. I would rather spend time learning to play a piano, develop new skills, creating, coding. These are all wonderful things. If I do that, because it's really interesting, and if I'm an artist, for example, and I do that day after day after day, it takes hours and hours, you will only be as good as a painter, as a coder, as whatever it is that you do. So what the Veda says then is that you can turn that very thing wonderful. Don't get rid of it, because that's what karma yoga is. It's not saying get rid of things. It's saying in the presence of the role that I play, become reflective of the realities. While you're painting, instead of looking at the first impression canvas, you say, who is that who is behind the painter? I want to discover what's behind. So like this, when I see the world like a painting, then I take that teaching and I say, so then who is the creator behind this world? Okay, so the point is, any addiction becomes a means by which you contemplate into realities. Then it becomes karma yoga. Whereas if I take out the philosophy, if I take out the contemplation, it becomes just a mere exercise of creative skills. It has no spiritual value. So therefore, what would I say to this individual? Wonderful. Karma yoga is not saying to change anything. It never has said this, ever. It says that now that you've got something that keeps you focused, in the light of what? What's the ultimate goal? And you say, the ultimate goal is to discover the final truth, to end this whole journey. Otherwise, next time I'm just going to keep on painting more pictures. So I want to end this journey. Why? Because I'm gaining everything. I'm now the artist. I am the grand artist of the entire universe. That's the benefit. And this painting is a means by which I do not go elsewhere. I don't go and, spend my time and wasting my time. At least I've got something. And that something becomes your exercise to hold you down and live, a decent life, a contemplative life, a reflective life in the light of what you're doing. I'll give you one more example. I was working in business for many years, and I like to do customer service, to answer emails. And how did I convert customer service into karma yoga? Well, the customers who I deal with are men and they're young, right? So they will often use derogative language if their product doesn't arrive on time, if it's not working, and so on. And that very thing bothered me for a long time. I was like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to, send you even a worse email than you sent me. So this was my initial approach. Very quickly, I discovered that this is not working, right? I love customer service, but this kind of communication is not working. So I said, wait, so what if I could use this to reflect upon what might they be feeling? Let me put myself in their shoes. How would I respond? And how can I respond in a manner that when I send that email, I feel proud? And that pride itself makes me contentful, makes me happy, so that I want to then go and attend to studies, philosophy studies. And I don't feel the guilt anymore about devotion to Ishvara, because I'm like, hey, I'm already giving. I'm already a happy person, right? I'm giving, I've got my own little work, and I have no issue now giving back to the world. I have no issue being told that I am the whole. Why? Because you have turned your so-called difficult practice into something that helps you grow, self-esteem, creativity, thinking, discernment, thoughtfulness. Isn't this all required in Vedanta? Absolutely. Summary: anything you do becomes your savior with the right attitude. It's not about changing work. It never has been. It's about converting your existing work into the best possible practice. And I say this to people, why do you hate your work? You learn communication skills at work. You learn how to respond properly with people. You learn how to see a person, as Ishvara. That's what work is there for. Where's the resistance? What's wrong with being on traffic? That's your time to exercise patience, to see that we all have to share this place, governed by the same laws. The same laws that are beating your heart are the same laws beating my heart. Okay? Therefore, life becomes a reflection, a contemplation. That is the purpose of Karma Yoga.
I look at, I'm not the doer. One is, I personally don't want to be like in that chapter 2, I think, the karma phala, I am not interested, or I don't have any control. So I am not the bhokta, means whatever comes, yes, that I will go through it, but I am not too interested in what the outcome will be. Then when I do it, it's just happening through me. It's not something I am really putting effort to do, is how I see it.
That's more Karma Yoga category, where I'm not kind of interested in, what the results are. Of course, you are interested, of course, in the results. Otherwise, you would have not done the action in the first place. The question was about a Jivan Mukta. What makes a Jivan Mukta a so-called non-doer? When you say I'm a non-doer, what does that mean? Because see, to say I'm not interested, awareness cannot say I'm not interested. Okay, so do you have anything else to expand on the basis of the question? When you say I'm not a doer, what does that mean?
So all actions are either happening through the body or mind, all those faculties, right? So when I am not identified with those, when I'm not, meaning it's at this point maybe a lot intellectual, but still when I'm not really identified with this body or mind, then whatever is happening, it's just a happening. It's not actually something I can claim ownership of.
What does it mean to say not identified?
Means I know that I am not this body.
And what took you to that understanding that you're not the body? How do you arrive at that understanding?
Because this body is constantly changing. Thoughts are everything that's changing is not that real thing. I just say this is my body, this is my mind. So there is something beyond all this which is saying that this is not me. This is not me. So that that when it comes to a real understanding, then yes, you really don't claim ownership of doing anything. Right?
10 out of 10.
I can give two analogies. One analogy is of let's say there is a robot and it has been programmed to drink water, say every 1 hour, or it has got a thirst sensor. It drinks water when it feels thirsty. So am I a robot and who has been programmed by somebody else, and the real doer is not me, the robot, but it is the person who has or whoever has programmed me. This is one analogy. Second analogy is like a film projection. A film is being projected. The hero is flying the aircraft. Is hero actually flying the aircraft? No. Actually, who is making him fly? It's the director. It is the whatever cinematography has taken place to project this scene. Even in that case, that hero who's seen to be doing is not the doer. So what we see is basically a deception, an illusion, or a projection, and the real doers are somebody higher up somewhere else in the world.
He was creative. He created his own examples. He took the effort to explain them. And going back to Vijay, you said there's something behind saying I'm not a doer. And I really felt you in that moment, right? There's something behind saying I'm not a doer. Now, of course, you're not saying awareness is saying that, but it was an attempt to communicate that which you cannot communicate. So that was brilliant.
How does one handle, like, for example, when they recognize that, okay, I actually lied to somebody or created a false narrative around myself as a hero kind of or a good person, and now like, okay, hey, I'm like feeling embarrassed, like, okay, what the heck did I do? Why did I do it? I understand the stories I had created intellectually, but I do not understand, how do we work with that in karma yoga, or how do we work with this kind of recognition?
I think there is always a safety system, which is called the feedback of the world. And if one's pretending or kind of convinced that they are a particular kind of a person, a good person or a hardworking person, or whatever it is person, then you can get away with it for some time. But because nobody stays static for too long, and you learn, you observe others, you get into more teachings and you hear different standpoints. So no distortion can last too long, as long as the person is involved by the virtue of being in the world. Right?
I will be more specific. It's literally not a third person. It's me. Like, I am actually experiencing, okay, I did something. I was trying to be honest, but later I realized I actually was not. I was stuck in some kind of story and I created this narrative. And now today, afterwards, I was looking at it. No, I actually had created a false narrative around something, which is not at all true. And I feel like horrible. Like, what the heck did I do? Like,
yeah. But see, exactly, that's the point. So your very recognition of that is what I just said. Your very feedback of what did I do? That is the feedback system that you're getting. And in the light of that feedback, you're now reflecting on your actions and you're making a course correction. And now you say, great, that happened. I didn't know any better before. It's okay. I don't have to feel guilty because nobody's born with all knowledge, right? Everyone's kind of covered and doesn't know. So now you say, great, that was part. It's probably going to happen 2 more times in your life, 2 or 3 more times, or even more. It's going to probably happen to me. Great, it's happened. It's embarrassing. I move on. What else can you do?
Yes, but it just feels like, okay, I lied to this person. It just feels really bad. Like, okay, and there feels like there's no way to actually fix that. So I just feel like, okay, hey, I think just like maybe the fact is sitting with it does not feel good, I guess. And possibly that's what it is. Okay, this happened. Now you just wait for whatever is the result, and then you work with that.
You do work with it, Gagan, and you have to work at it in your specific way. One thing that I will not do in this case is tell you what you need to do, because what you need to do, that's not what you want to hear from me. What I believe is you just want to be heard. You want to be heard to know that it's actually not just you who's going through this. Most of us are going through this, and we just got to figure it out in our own way how to go back on our 2 feet. You're allowed to make mistakes.
Can I share something on addiction?
Yeah.
So addiction, right? It's there's a there might be something that we should look into. It's obsession and addiction. It's two very different things. Addiction is something that's destroying you. You want to stop, but you can't stop. It's destroying your family. You've hit rock bottom. But obsession is an emotion, unlike addiction.
Enlighten me.
So, okay, so obsessive behavior, like they took the example of painting, right? It might be an obsessive behavior instead of an addiction. So one has to define very well which one it is and take two different methods to work it out. Otherwise, and being in Vedanta, these type of addiction won't be helpful. So I might just say that it's best to work it out using proper methodologies. Identify it, then use proper methodology to sort it out, then come to Vedanta.
Are you saying that obsession is a different methodology?
Yes, absolutely, because it's an emotion. One carries a substance of addiction.
Okay.
Obsession is a skill that you are so obsessed with painting, you can't let go. You find your, I don't know, you find your well-being in painting, right? So this one is the inner child work or shadow, because that comes from the childhood, subconscious childhood issue.
Got it.
And addiction is to a substance, like it's tangible, it's a substance. I go towards alcohol, I go towards chocolate, I go towards, I don't know, there's so many types. Food is an addiction.
Okay. Okay.
One is to a skill, one is to something tangible.
You use the word Jivan Mukta and it didn't startle anyone. If you really look at the etymology of the word.
Okay.
Right. Jivan Mukta means actually you're lifeless. Obviously, whatever you take as like my life, it has to startle at that point, like basically you're dying before you die. Right? So that explains the whole thing of what your question is. The answer is in that word itself. Right?
Yeah.
So you're not claiming it is my life. So whatever we say is my life is a lie.
Yeah. So this is very good.
Yeah.
What the Ravikant is saying, see, when you say I'm alive, see, what do you say I'm alive to? When you say I'm alive, what you say alive to is in reference to what lives, time-bound. It's born and it dies. But how did Krishna in verse 12, in chapter 2, verse 12 start out? You're unborn, you're pure, you're eternal. You were never born. So only that which is born, in reference to that, you give the word I'm alive. So when you say I'm alive, you're not alive, by the way. And because you're not alive, you're not dead either, because you were never born. Your body is alive. Your mind is alive. But not you. So keep that distinction there. Otherwise, you say, oh, I want to live. I want to live, please. That's your body saying. Your body wants to live. I don't want to die. That's in reference to being alive. You, that which is without life or death. So this is an important distinction. So don't say you're alive. Hands up. Who's alive here? Oh, no, hands up. Oh, no. Excellent.
Adi Shankaracharya once says, I live without breathing.
Look at that. I live without breathing. I so-called live, right? In quotes, I live without breathing.
I have like a question and a comment as well. So when I say I am and anything after I am, that is not me. And can I say that a Jivan Mukta is when even the I is gone and there is only am?
No, because the word am is I is. Awareness is. So awareness exists. Awareness, chit is sat. Chit sat. So you don't say I is, you say I am. So it's just a grammatical thing. So you cannot say I'm aware unless that awareness exists. You can only you can only know things if they exist. Therefore, I, and what's the nature of that I? The consciousness, the one in the presence of whom there's consciousness, right? But to say consciousness implies it exists. Therefore, I is. Now, in the presence of I is, there are all these superimpositions. And those superimpositions, you say tall, short, smart, dying, living. They're all superimpositions that you impute onto I am.
Great. Can we say that a Jivan Mukta is the one who goes with the flow, like the river goes with the flow. Whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens, I'm neither like I go with the flow. Whatever has to come will come. Whatever, if I get it, it's okay. And whatever happens, I don't mind. I don't mind whatever happens. So is it?
Okay, I'm not going to say absolutely yes, because that again gives it an image. The moment you're a Jivan Mukta, suddenly you're going with the flow, right? Before I was resisting, I was like a sardine trying to go against the flow. Suddenly next day, I'm a Jivan Mukta and suddenly I'm in the flow. Because you still have vasanas, right?
Yes.
Even when you recognize your nature, your vasanas, your past tendencies are still making you say, I want to do my things, right? I still want to do a little bit of my things against the flow. And that's why you need nididhyasanam. Now, nididhyasanam is the real work. Once you understand your nature, your work only has begun. And what is that work that has begun in reference to what? In reference to still bringing bhakti. We say in the tradition, Advaita Jnanam without bhakti is incomplete. And bhakti without Advaita Jnanam is incomplete. You need to bring devotion and knowledge together. Now, once knowledge takes place, now what? Okay, great. I still got to continue paying the bills and driving on the car and still got to tell my loud neighbor to, you know, turn down the TV and so on. How is that? How is that being in the flow? That's what I've been doing exactly before the knowledge took place. So when we say in the flow, what we really mean is that I've removed those tendencies that resist what needs to be attended to. The situation is calling me to do something. And I say, no, for my convenience, I'm not going to do that because it's not convenient for me. That's called not being in the flow. When you are in the flow, you say, what is the situation calling of me? That's what I will attend. But look at this. Do you need to be enlightened to say that? No. So flow has nothing to do with Jivan Mukta. You were always in the flow.
You're already enlightened.
You were always in the flow. I just thought I was not in the flow. And so on the basis of that, I thought I'm not in the flow, not in the flow, not in the flow. After the knowledge takes place, and through the progression of knowledge, by hearing the classes, you realize, you know what? It's always the flow. Sometimes my mind, whether enlightened or not, will intercept that flow. I can't help it because I'm a human being. I've got my own desires. Sometimes I will be okay and available to be with the flow. But will I always be in the flow? No. That's a utopian dream. If a teacher sells you the idea that moksha, you will be in the flow, then what is your mind going to now imagine? Oh, but I'm never in the flow. And I suppose knowledge takes place and you still realize I'm not in the flow. Therefore, I'm not enlightened. So we cannot put these categorical statements onto a Jivan Mukta. And Jivan Mukta is not someone who you put in a category. They're in the flow, they're not in the flow. It's simple. I understand the reality. That's what it is, clarity. Who am I? I am that which is in the presence of whom things, the flow and the absence of flow is witnessed. That's who I am. Everything else, the body will be in the flow. Sometimes it won't be in the flow. And I need to do whatever I can to align it with the order. That alignment is called being in the flow. But that's work. And when does this work end? One fine day on a Tuesday, 3:35 p.m. You know when it ends? You know the answer to this.
We die.
Exactly. That's when you can officially say, now I have done all I could to be in the flow. I failed in some cases. I passed in other cases. Now, Ishvara, you take me wherever I need to be. But I've done the best I could. Yeah.
Andre, there's one thing I want to. We have been listening. I have been listening to whatever you have been saying. Now the next time will be Mananam, then Nididhyasanam. So what do I do next? do I sit and think over what you have said? I sit and close my eyes. And what is mananam? How do I do it?
Okay.
Shravanam, mananam, then nididhyasana. So
See,
what is the next? I have listened to you for 1.5 hours.
sure. So they're not like these separate compartments. They're all, remove Vedanta for a moment. You want to understand mathematics, okay, or whatever topic it is. Mathematics. Mathematics, I need to listen. While I'm listening, I'm also thinking. So listening is Shravanam. While I'm listening, I'm simultaneously doing doubt removal, mananam. Right? It's not like first listen, totally turn off your brain. Okay, now the teacher has closed their mouth. Now start doubt removal. It's not like that. You're doing it simultaneously. Now, when you leave the class, it's no longer mananam. That word mananam, that doubt removal, gets replaced with nididhyasanam. You just simply continue doubt removal outside the class. So inside the class, contemplation is called mananam. Outside the class, contemplation is called nididhyasanam. The point is, what do? You simply bring the knowledge, those things that are not clear for you. Take one statement that makes sense to you. If something touches your heart, this is your statement to listen and to contemplate. For example, sometimes my teacher will say something. I love that part. I will take that part and I will just take a walk outside and I will just observe the trees and I will interpret the reality in the light of what she's saying. Until when I come home from my 10 minutes walk, 20 minutes walk, and now I'm clear. Totally got it. Why? Because of 20 minutes of nididhyasanam. Therefore, don't let one statement that touches you, don't let that pass. Tomorrow it's too late already. You forget about it. New statements will come tomorrow. So what statement touches you? That's your statement to listen, contemplate, munch on, eat, digest, and until you're fresh, you feel fresh, like, yes, I got it. Next one, I got it. Next. It's a life, isn't it? That's the lifestyle. The lifestyle of a thinker, a lifestyle of a contemplator. Jnana sanchina samshaya, that means the one whose doubts have been severed by knowledge. Look how this flows onto what Divya was just saying. Okay, well, let's take an enlightened wave. And you're an enlightened wave in the ocean with two eyes. Now, what is your experience as a wave? Suppose we're all waves now. Your experience is like this. First, there's something that's changing about you. Yeah? And second, there's something that's unchanging about you. So whatever you change into, whatever you seemingly change into, how do you know that the changes are there? The point is, you know the changes are there. So if there's something changing about you and you know that the changes are there, what does that imply? It must be there also. Otherwise, you would not know about the changes from tallness to shortness. So that means that the enlightened wave knows one fact. If change is evident to me, then whatever that me, whatever you want to call that me, must be that which is opposed to change. Has anyone changed here from yesterday? Has anyone woken up today? Have you woken up today? Yes. But now you are awake. So that means there was a waking person, something happened, and now there's an awake person. That is a change. In reference to that change, I know that took place. Whatever that I that knows that must be other than the waker in the morning and the person who's awake right now. That's what we call the unchanging, invariable presence. That is your real nature. Now, this water that you are, suppose it has a capacity to manifest itself into different waves. And it does. That capacity is always activated. And so it always seemingly takes on tall and short. Now, the wave, is the wave ever away from the ocean, from the water? Does the wave have to look for the water and summon the water from a distance and get that water inside itself? If the wave meditates on the water to try to get to the water, try to feel the presence of the water, does he have to do that? If it does that, what is it implying? It's simultaneously saying it's not the water. Is there any place throughout that wave where the wave can look and it will not find the water? Will there ever be a time when that wave, suppose if it was angry and lost and it doesn't know its nature anymore, would there ever be a time when that wave is not the water? Was there ever a time that wave, when it didn't know about Vedanta, was there ever a time when that wave was not the water? Now that the wave is alive, that we call it alive, it's upright. And when it's dead, in reference to what do you call dead and alive? To the water or to the wave? To the wave. What difference will there be while the wave is standing upright and when the wave has come down? What difference, and to whom would there be a difference, if at all? Will the wave ever disappear out of the water?
The form will disappear.
Yeah, the falling, that means the name and form, the apparent manifestation of water in a form of a wave has gone. The name and form has gone. It's like this: the Ganga River and the Nile River are traveling. Who wants to be the Ganga? Hands up. Who wants to be Yamuna? Who wants to be the Nile? Who wants to be Amazon? Okay, great. So we have Mr. Amazon, we have Mrs. Ganga, Mrs. Yamuna. Yamuna is a female name, sounds like it. And we have Miss Sir Nile River. Okay. And we have Sir Amazon. Okay, great. And we're all going, and we're all carrying, like, I am Amazon, you're Ganga, you're Yamuna. Hello, Yamuna. Let me marry Yamuna. Yamuna and me together. And we're all going towards the ocean. Ocean, and we come into the ocean. What has been lost? Have I lost my essence as the water? While I was Yamuna, while I was Ganga? What have I lost? I've lost merely the name that I was carrying. The name of Yamuna. I've lost Nile. But was Nile real while I called myself Nile? What was real while I called myself Nile? The name or the substance? The substance, the water. Therefore, upon death, nothing gets lost, just the apparent name that I got identified with. My essence remains exactly the same. And finally, Atmavan, this person, this being is one who is together. What does it mean, the one who is together? When you say, get your act together. Hey man, hold it together. Be together. What do you mean by that? That means your mind and your senses are not quite working together. So when you say come together, what you really mean is aligned, the one whose senses, mind, and intellect are aligned. When my senses see something fancy, what does my intellect say? Remember those three words? And then what? Goodbye. And then again, something tempting. And then what? Okay, so this means that all three of them are working together for a common goal, for a common purpose. Therefore, your buddhi guides, your senses are like the horses, but your buddhi, the driver, always guides where will the horses go. Therefore, you are together. Okay, one test. You're now driving and someone cuts you off and gives you a massive headache. How do you apply Atmavan, the one who is together?
He's probably having a bad day. So I will let him go, or I just let not that affect me, and I will let him be what he has to be.
Super. I will not let that affect me, because you can lash out, but it's going to affect you. Therefore, you are keeping in mind the consequences. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.